And tonight at 10, police in Lauderhill are working to notify the family of a woman shot and killed by one of their officers. They say she approached the officer while holding a knife. CBS News Miami's Nichols has more on this from the Lauderhill Police Department.
Lauderhill police say it began with a 911 call. An officer was sent to check out a situation at an apartment building, and according to police, he was met by a woman with a knife in her hand.
And I'm thinking, like, this is a war zone in the hallway.
Cell phone footage shows the moment a woman is wheeled off on a stretcher to the hospital after Lauderhill police say she was shot and killed by one of their own. Residents of the Majestic Gardens recall the terrifying moments.
But I'm hearing a lot of noise, a lot of commotion, and all of a sudden, then my wife said somebody got shot.
Police say they received a call for service with minimal information shortly before 12:30 this afternoon. Then the caller hung up. When the responding officer showed up, that's when police say he was met by a woman wielding a large knife.
He arrived on scene, and upon arriving on scene, the next thing you hear is the officer advising over the radio that she has a knife, and the next transmission after that is shots fired.
Police say the shooting happened at the end of a hallway in a parking lot area of the building. At this time, it is unclear what exactly transpired between the officer and the woman.
Those are still details that need to be investigated by the Florida Department of Law Enforcement.
While we don't know the name of the woman or the officer, what we do know is that the officer has been with the department for 3 years. In Lauderhill, Nikaya Carrero, CBS News, Miami.
In Brevard County, where police say they were forced to shoot a man after another case of domestic violence. Investigators say the man was threatening his estranged wife. This all happened this morning along Meadowlark Drive, just north of State Roads 405 and 407 in Titusville. West 2's Michelle Meredith just got an update from police.
It's shocking to the whole neighborhood because this is a very nice neighborhood.
Neighbors on Meadowlark Drive in Titusville are as confused as they are brokenhearted. The lives of a family on their street completely shattered because of a domestic dispute that ended in a deadly officer-involved shooting. And sad?
It's sad. It's very sad. I guess people knew he was having domestic problems, but we didn't think it would come to this point.
Police say this all started as the woman was driving down South Washington, and she called 911 to say that her estranged husband was threatening her, pursuing her. Police tried to stop the man, even used stop sticks, but he kept going until he ended up here on Meadowlark Drive, where the family lived. According to Titusville police, when he got out of his car, the man, in their words, displayed a weapon. Police fired. He was taken to the hospital, but died.
Well, I think anytime there's an officer-involved shooting, the public wants to know.
In a very candid interview on Friday, the newly elected mayor of Titusville, who's been on the job a mere few weeks, said that he was the victim of domestic abuse when he was a young boy.
Please reach out. Ask for help. There's a lot of resources here in Brevard County to address that, and even here in Titusville. 211 Brevard is a great resource, so if you have no idea who to call, you can reach out there and they'll point you in the right direction.
Now, a family is forced to move in a new direction to try to recover and heal. Covering Brevard County in Titusville, Michelle Meredith, West 2 News.
Shot and killed a man who had a knife on the grounds of the fire department where it happened on Davis Ford Road in Woodbridge. Police say an officer was completing a work shift when he received a call about a man in the rear parking lot of the fire station. Now, that officer did find that man, noticed he had a knife, and police say the officer tried to get the man to drop the weapon, but he would not comply, allegedly. Now, in response, the officer shot the man. Paramedics took him to the hospital where he did later die. Police say the officer is now on administrative leave.
From San Antonio police about a deadly shooting from Tuesday. The officer involved in that shooting has been identified as Officer James Lopez. He's been with SAPD for 4 years. On Tuesday afternoon, Officer Lopez tried to talk to a man in the middle of the street near Loop 410 and Jones Maltzberger. That man had already been identified as 33-year-old Jeffrey Schopp. When Officer Lopez tried to contact Schopp, he started to run, so the officer ran after him. The two ran into a drainage ditch. That's when Chief William McManus said Schopp pulled out a gun and pointed it at Lopez. When Lopez saw the gun, according to police, he shot at Schopp multiple times, but Schopp continued to run away. The chase continued. Schopp is said to have turned and fired at Officer Lopez, so Lopez fired back again and hit him. Schopp died from that shot. Right now, 2 separate investigations into that shooting are underway.
Also learning more about a man shot and killed by police this morning at the Belmar Shopping District in Lakewood. That's near South Vance Street and West Alaska Drive. That is where we begin our coverage for you tonight. Your reporter in Jefferson County, Karen Morfitt, live at that shopping district. And Karen, you're learning more about what happened.
Yeah, Michael, and this all unfolded early this morning at about 3:30 a.m., long before any of these stores were open, but police were on scene throughout most of the morning collecting evidence after this deadly shooting. Early Monday morning, Lakewood police were called to an empty Belmar shopping center. Security there had reported an unwanted party. Officers contacted that suspect behind the Best Buy store, where the interaction quickly escalated.
When Lakewood police attempted to talk to the suspect first began to walk away and then pulled a gun on our agents.
Lakewood police spokesperson John Romero says agents ordered that suspect to drop the weapon before 2 of their agents opened fire.
The suspect did point a gun at our police. That is when our agents fired at the suspect, and we later did recover the suspect's gun at the scene.
The suspect, who has not been identified, died from his injuries, and per policy, both Lakewood agents involved have been put on leave while the shooting is investigated. Now, we also know that both of those officers were not injured in the shooting, and while Lakewood police say that this investigation is ongoing, they did also tell us that that trespassing suspect did not appear to be trying to enter any of the stores here in the Belmar Shopping District. They do plan to release more information as early as tomorrow. For now, we're live in Belmar and Lakewood. Karen Morfitt covering Colorado First.
We do begin this evening with new developments out of Peoria. 1 man is dead, 2 police officers are injured after a call for alleged car break-ins that led to an officer-involved shooting. It happened just before 7 this morning on Grand Avenue near State Route 101. ABC 15's Jane Caffrey with the breakdown.
Several hours after the officer-involved shooting, yellow tape still blocking off the scene. People who were nearby say they were surprised to hear this unfolding this morning. Flashing lights and police detectives in Peoria after an officer-involved shooting just before sunrise Sunday. Police say the owner of one nearby business was watching his surveillance cameras and called police to report a man going through cars.
He had broken into several vehicles. Our officers actively saw him breaking into vehicles.
Police say when they got there, the suspect tried to flee, reversing his vehicle and hurting 2 officers. That's when police fired.
The suspect puts the vehicle in reverse and ends up backing and going towards, at a high rate of speed, going towards the officers. You know, that's a position nobody ever wants to be in.
Police rendered medical aid, but the unidentified man in his 20s died on the scene.
We do have 2 officers who were transported to a local hospital with minor injuries, and they are being evaluated currently.
Shoppers in a neighboring plaza were surprised to come across the active investigation that closed down Grand Avenue.
And I'm heading this way, and I see all these cups and all that. I was wondering what's going on.
And at nearby Saguaro Motor Incorporated, the owner's son was starting his day when he heard gunfire erupt outside.
I thought I heard some yelling going on, and just as I got up to look at the monitor, I hear all this gunshots going off.
Pat Jonas doesn't think his business got damaged, but laid low during the commotion.
I knew it was gunshots, and I looked outside. There's just cops everywhere, so I just stayed inside the building.
Surveillance video is now part of the investigation. The officers were also wearing activated body cameras. Going forward, the West Valley Investigative Response Team, made up of several police departments, will investigate this officer-involved shooting, Buckeye Police taking the lead. In Peoria, Jane Caffrey, ABC 15, Arizona.
Right now, an investigation is underway in St. Charles after a man was shot and killed by police at an assisted living center. Police say when they were called to the River Glen of St. Charles just before 9 this morning for a welfare check, this is what happened. Witnesses told them a man was holding a chainsaw trying to cut down a tree on the property. So when police got there, the man was in the lobby of the building confronting residents with the chainsaw. Police say attempts to de-escalate the situation failed, and an officer was forced to shoot the man. He was then taken to a hospital where he died.
First tonight at 11, a 34-year-old man is dead after 2 Westbrook police officers shot him early this morning. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Anna Kuhn. The incident happened after police got a domestic violence disturbance call to a home on Arlington Avenue. CBS 13's Allison LaPierre is in Westbrook with what police say happened and the reaction from neighbors.
Westbrook police responded to a domestic disturbance call at 36 Arlington Avenue around 3:30 a.m. after receiving a call that a man was hurting his mother inside that home. Police were told the man had mental illness.
Well, we were sound asleep, and all of a sudden around 3:30 this morning, we heard gunfire.
When officers arrived, they found 34-year-old Ryan Nichols. Police say he had an active felony warrant out for assault.
Making you aware that we have extensive history in-house with their suspect. He has previously kicked out a rear window. He's unstable, unpredictable, and assaultive towards police.
Westbrook police say officers tried to arrest Nichols, but he resisted and assaulted the officers, then ran to a neighbor's house. Police say they then tried to, quote, use less lethal weapons to contain Nichols.
They are currently behind the house with the subject at gunpoint. They've attempted 3 taser deployments at this time.
Police say Nichols then armed himself with what police are calling an unspecified metal object and ran towards the officers. That's when 2 Westbrook policemen, Sergeant Brian Grasser and Officer Maxwell Sawyer, shot Nichols. Michael Bodman, who lives a few doors down, says the gunshots woke him and his family up.
We were just checking all the windows and doors and making sure that the house was secure and that everybody was safe in our house.
Emergency responders say they tried to give Nichols first aid, but he died at the scene.
I think that they reacted the appropriate way, and unfortunately someone did die, and nobody wants to have that around the holiday season.
Both officers who fired a gun have been placed on administrative leave.